Alright, boys and girls, now you can see we're kind of back to familiar territory here. We're going to be working on the capital K with words, lowercase k, and then sentences down at the bottom. Okay, now if you'll notice on your sheet you have a 1 starting right here on your capital K, which means you're going to start just below the top line, go up to the top line, touch it, and then come straight back down towards the baseline. Then you will pick your crayon up, your highlighter up, come back up to the top line over on this side, on the right hand side from the line you created. Now you're going to start at the top line and then come down towards that line you've already made and touch when you get to the dash line, and then come back out to kick out the line. Alright, so again what we're going to do is start at the 1, going up to the top line and then down to the baseline. Then we're going to move over to our right hand side, starting at the top line, coming down but back in towards that line you've already made, and then down to the baseline, back up to kick out. So let's get some practice here. Go up to the top line, straight down to the baseline. Start at the top line, come in towards the middle, then kick back out. And let's use our pencils to now create the lines. And this one should not be one that after a while it should seem fairly easy to you. It's just some simple lines, making sure we do touch where the dash line is. We don't touch in too high or too low. This is the capital K, and this is the shape that you need to be using to create that capital K. It does have just a few, it has just very few straight lines. It does have quite a few curves. Come in toward the middle of that line and kick out. Okay, I'm going to use my highlighter to trace this last one here and again on the next line. Highlighter, trace this last one just to make sure I'm still on track as far as the way it should be created and the way it should feel when I draw it. Okay, so here we're going to have the capital K again, but now we're going to create that A, N, S, A, S for Kansas, which is the name of a state. Kansas. Okay, here we see it again in K. Kent. This could obviously would be the name of a person, but it has also I know a place named Kent. So it can obviously be a name of a place, because I do know a place named Kent. Then we have Krista. Cross that T, dot the I. Krista. And then Kendra. N D R Kendra. N D R Kendra. Okay, now we have our lowercase k that starts on the baseline right where that 1 is, and notice the arrows is telling us to go up to create a loop like we did with the H and the L. This is a smaller loop than the L. We come straight down, and this is where it can get tricky, guys, so be very careful. When you come back down to that baseline, you're actually going to go back up towards the dash line, but look, you're going to create a tiny little tucked in loop right here. Then you come down and kick out. So notice that's the tricky part for a lot of kids, is creating that tiny little loop in the middle. So one more time, let's trace this with your finger. Starting at the 1, you're going to follow up to the top line, make your loop by looping back, coming straight down to your baseline. Now go back up towards the dash line and then tuck a little loop in and then kick out. So now with your highlighter, do the same thing. Starting at the 1, going up, up, up to the top line, straight down, down, down to the baseline, and back up to the dash line, tuck in that tiny little loop, and then kick back out. Trace again with the highlighter on the next line. Go up to the dash line, come in with a tiny loop, and then kick back out. Now using your pencil, loop straight down. Now come back up to the dash line, coming out to make a tiny loop here. Touch back into that line you've already made, and then kick out. Be very slow and careful with this one, because again, that loopy part can be kind of tricky for some kids. Tiny little loop right here, and then kick out. Take your time. Tall loop down to the baseline, tiny little loop in and kick out. Tall loop, straight down, tiny little loop, kick out. Tall loop to the top, straight down the baseline, tuck it in, kick it out. Tall loop, down to the baseline, tiny loop, kick it out. Follow with the highlighter, and you'll notice their loop actually may even look a little bit bigger. Theirs looks a little bit bigger and more forward than mine. Let me use my highlighter again on the next line to create a lowercase k. Alright, so it's a tall loop, little loop, kick it out. Tall loop, down to the baseline, tiny loop, kick it out. Tall loop, down to the baseline, tiny loop, kick it out. Tall loop, down to the baseline, tiny loop, kick it out. Tall loop, up, down to the baseline, tiny loop, kick it out. Tall loop, down to the baseline, tiny loop, kick it out. Basic movements there, but again, being very careful with those, because again, it's that tiny loop there that a lot of kids will miss. Notice that you're going to use the lowercase k to create words like kicked, knew, like I knew how to read this word. Lake has the K towards the back middle. Sky and kite. We actually have some extra words here. We normally just have 4, now we have 5. Alright, so take your time, make sure that the upper letters are created nice and neat. If time allows, you can try these. If not, we will come back to these on Friday to give you a chance to go back and get caught up with some of your letters that you've been working on and may have needed some extra practice.